Welcome to episode 4 of the Casa podcast. Before we get started on today's episode, I'm very happy to announce we've got a sponsor on board. Lucky to have Sondrea Espresso and Coffee join as the major and only podcast sponsor we've got. But best coffee in Osborne Park, get down, check them out. They are just on Main Street, right next to the IGA. So get in, grab a coffee and say the Casa podcast sent you down. They'll look after you. Now, today's show, I've got my fourth favourite Marchese in the family. Welcome, Dave, to the Casa podcast. Thanks for letting me into your house.
Well, I don't know how I feel about being the fourth favourite Marchese.
Surely you could list who's ahead of you.
I'm curious about who's in first, second and third place.
All right, take a guess.
Let me think, maybe Courtney?
Nah, not even close. Right, I'll give you
Rob?
Nah. Not that side of the family.
All right, okay.
So I'll give you one. Donald John's going to be number one.
Oh, all right, okay.
So that's fair enough.
Yep. You've got a very unusual taste.
That's all right. So where would you go to if John's number one?
Oh, I'd have to go with my mum.
Yep, she's in there second. And number three...
Three, maybe the dog.
Jimmy, nailed it. So you slot in just nicely after Jimmy. So that's kind of your place there. Now, obviously, Dave is the director here at Marchese Coffee. Thanks for letting me into the salon.
No worries.
It's good to be here after hours and not normally.
It is. It's much more peaceful here after hours than what it is at my house. So I'm happy.
Hairdryer noise must just ring through your head constantly.
It's constantly ringing my ears, but
definitely. Now you are currently obviously running Main Street along with Christian. You've got Marchese here, and you've just signed on with Miss Universe as the head.
Yes. I've had a role with Miss Universe over the last few years on a state level. So it's a role I've actually really come to really enjoy and really respect as well. The competition in my eyes has really evolved and really changed. I think they're a remarkable group of young ladies, and it's also a real celebration of basically the young women in our community who who go on to do amazing things, gives them amazing opportunities. They're extremely, it's not the beauty competition that it once was.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably think it used to be like a bit miscongeniality of just
not at all.
So that's changed a lot.
And I probably felt a little the same in the very beginning of that competition when I first joined it, but actually after doing a couple of seasons there, you realise that, well, basically, like looks don't come into it at all. They're all gorgeous girls, the whole lot of them. So, but what gets them to the end is basically their ability to be able to network and to be ambassadors, and they're really an amazing bunch of people that we work with there, and the people that run it. Also, what they do for how they build these young girls' confidence. Like, I see it change from the beginning of their season to the end. Like, you get girls coming along who lack confidence, or they're very quiet, or they don't see themselves up there being able to do that sort of thing, or by the time they get to the end of that competition, with a bit of mentoring from the Miss Universe or the team and the family.
What kind of cast they got? Like obviously you've got your hairdressers and all your beauty side of things, but do they have psychology side of things as well they assist with? And
they definitely build like these girls very quickly become like family to each other. So as far as that's concerned, it's a really supportive, encouraging kind of environment. Yeah. So they really do hype each other up, and they really do support each other. It's a really, really positive experience. So I would sort of say I've even got a lot of young clients who I would encourage or have encouraged to be part of it, because you see the growth they get out of it. It's quite exceptional, actually. Like, and I'm a dad as well, so I'm their national hair director this year, but I'm also a dad. I've got 2 daughters myself, and it's something that I wouldn't hesitate for my girls to participate in something like that.
It seems like it's changed a lot, that kind of narrative around it.
It has,
now,
yeah. So it's great. So I'm lucky enough to be asked to be part of that again this year. So I'm quite honoured to do it, and really happy, and really motivated to make it another brilliant year with that team this year.
Well deserved. and it does sound cool on the resume as well. So it's a cool title to have.
It does.
But I just want to strip back a little bit to the start. Obviously, a lot of young hairdressers. You guys doing a lot of educational things now down south and kind of all over the place, helping out some of these young people. What was the journey like for you growing up? I imagine it'd be pretty different when you were coming through the system with a lot of, most of your mates at school probably becoming bricklayers and
it was really different. Like I've been, it was 35 years ago. I've been in the industry for 35 years now. So things were really different. It was a very female dominated industry, and it still is now, but it's changed a lot. Like barbering is now offered as a qualification that stands alone separately from being a unisex hairdresser. But getting into ladies hairdressing as a young, back then 14-year-old boy, it was quite out of the ordinary. It was just starting to become kind of, gaining some popularity with young male apprentices as well back in the day. But it was still, we were going into TAFE classes where, out of 20 people, you might have been the only male. But, I found myself at a young age falling into the industry kind of by default. Like I went along and just was determined at a young age to have an after-school job, and walked into several businesses up at Karrinyup Shopping Centre and kind of, went along to see if I could score, a Saturday or a Thursday night job to make a little bit of extra money. And
was that your first? Pretty much was your first job.
That was my first job. Yeah.
No fish and chip shops or nothing.
Actually, I did. Funnily enough, this is probably quite surreal, really. The very building that we're sitting in now was my very first job, and it was a restaurant. So right where this salon
where the
is,
real estate used to be. Yep.
So even the ramp out in the hallway, I remember running up and down there as a 11, 12-year-old. I was always motivated to work from a really young age, and they gave me my first job in the restaurant that was in this space.
Italian restaurant?
It was actually a French restaurant, but my only job was to peel onions and make garlic bread.
You've never once made me garlic bread in 4 years I've worked here. So.
I actually make a really good garlic bread ever since learning there. But that was and I remember getting something like $5 for about a 3-hour shift, but I thought that was really great money at the time. Yeah. But that was short-lived, and I decided to go out and get a real job, and I was a little bit tired of smelling like onions whenever I got home. And I walked into a salon actually up at Karrinyup, and I remember got myself dressed up and ready to kind of approach someone and ask them for a job. And my mum thought I had no chance at all because I was literally a kid. Walked into a salon up at, it was a Hearns at the time, or Hearns, or maybe it was already David Jones, I can't remember. But they agreed to put me on sort of there and then, like for a Thursday night, Saturday, sort of sweeping floors. So that was my first exposure to a salon environment. And I was always a kid that really didn't know where I was going to fit into what I wanted to do career-wise. I was more creatively minded. Yeah. I struggled a lot with, I would say I was an average smart kid, but I did struggle a lot with sitting at a desk.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I went through those kind of early stages of going, I don't know where I'm going to fit into this work world one day, but I kind of always wanted to make money out of being creative. And I thought if I found a job that I could earn a living out of being creative, I'd be happy. And once I tried hairdressing, I was, took to it like a sort of fish to water. I felt like I was in my environment.
Yeah,
and
just felt right.
The fact that, that I was a young man doing, ladies' hair, it didn't really matter to me. Like I was really proud of what I was doing, and I really genuinely enjoyed it. So it kind of flourished from there, I would say.
Definitely. I can imagine being that 14-year-old boy in a salon full of a few nonnas, Italian boy. You would have cleaned up quite the amount of tips.
Well, yeah, I was always, I used to get really spoiled, being the youngest in a salon, and, it's mostly women coming and having their hair done. Yeah. I remember hearing things that I thought would explode my brain every now and then. I'd go home and say to my mum, oh, you know what I heard today? Like this. Yeah. Mum would kind of go, oh, that's I don't like you
She was
listening
getting
to
all the
all that.
goss filtered through you.
Yeah, but it was I just loved it.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the attention, and you know, and I really learned a lot about, you know, interacting with people, and I think that was something that came quite naturally to me anyway. I was comfortable. So
Even me and my brother, growing up in my auntie's salon just on Warner Road, we would just go in there as kids after school, and straight away, all the attention from all the older women were on us and sending us down to the deli with, here's $2, $3. We'd go home with $15, $20 sometimes worth of chocolates and lollies, and Nonna and Mum are just mind blown by, you know.
yeah,
just-
you know, like we were brought up like that too. Mum and Dad always had a real strong work ethic, and Mum was always that sort of person that, like, you're committed to that. It was like, you know, if, you know, there was no sleeping in. You know, it was like, you know, get up and go to work. You need to be on time. Like, I'll tell you a funny story about an incident that happened to me when I was in my apprenticeship.
Because your mum and dad are quite the characters.
They're real characters, yeah. And Mum's a very strong lady and a real hard worker, and you know, she raised us well, but she's definitely got some spirit in her, you know.
I think she's 17 sometimes.
Yeah, I think I think she wishes she was. She'd be dangerous. I think if she was 17 in
She would be a
this day
weapon
and
on the
age.
streets at the moment.
She sure would. But I'll tell you a funny story about in my apprenticeship. You know, I got to an age where I was hanging out with my mates at night time a little bit as well, and Mum was always like, you know, you better make sure you get home and you're up for work the next morning. And it was a Friday night, and I was out with some friends, and we stayed up a bit later than normal, and I snuck back inside, and it was some ridiculous hour that I knew that I'd probably cop a whack over the head for if Mum heard me come in. But it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and in that time I had to start work the next day at 8 o'clock. So went to bed. I pretty much, you know, got undressed, you know, got ready for bed, went to bed, slept in the next morning. All I heard was Mum pounding on the door. And it was like, bang, 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 just get up. What, you've slept in, hurry up. Like, it was like basically 10 minutes to 8 o'clock. So I was like, oh, shit, you know. So I quickly just picked up my clothes, and I quickly got dressed. I picked up my trousers off the floor and put them on quickly. And I actually got to work like right on the dot. So I was, you know, all the way there, Mum was kind of telling me that, you know, oh, the only, you know, there's anyone that's up at that hour is up to no good, and you bloody well should come home. Anyway, so we got through that, but I thought, oh no, I got there, I got to work okay. I was, as the day went on, I was sweeping the salon floor, and, you know, again, like I remind you, it was all older women, it was all women in the salon, and all my colleagues and all the clients were all women. I'm sweeping the floor, and I felt something fall out of the bottom of my trousers, and one of the clients kind of said, David, you just dropped something on the floor. And I turned around and I looked, and it was my underwear from the night before. When I'd taken my trousers off, I just took everything off together, and they were in the trouser leg of my pants, and just fell out, like. And I was so humiliated because I thought,
fresh skid mark and all.
Yeah, no, they were clean.
Clean undies.
They were clean, but she was like, what was that? And I was like, oh, no, nothing, you know. They were like, that was your underwear. I was like, bloody hell, like, they didn't miss a thing, but it was quite embarrassing.
It must have been fun, but it must have been a good
fun
time in that salon. Like, surrounded by women would be...
I've learnt a lot, and, you know, I feel really comfortable in the company of women, like.
Yeah.
So...
Definitely. Well, I think a big thing for me watching you as a hairdresser, and some things I've picked up, skills from you, which you probably don't notice, but it always seems like your consultation is always the best out of anyone's that I've seen. Like, you kind of make sure you understand what they want through your communication early, and then not only will you, obviously you give your knowledge and your opinion on things, which sometimes we all fall into the trap of, we're getting told to do this, just do it, but you always... recommend someone what you believe is
that's
best
a
for
big
them.
thing. I think that comes with experience as well, and I've taught my staff, you know, to do the same thing, to back themselves in and to trust their instincts. And, you know, as a young hairdresser, I remember you almost feel bullied by what your client wanted.
Oh, definitely. You get shown a photo and you feel like, I need to replicate that exactly.
You know, I think with a bit of confidence and experience, you actually learn to to be able to tell people if it's going to work or not,
Yeah.
you know, and have the confidence to go, not just you can't have it, but to say, well, it won't be like that for you, but we can do it like this, which will be even better. And these days, like, you know, hairstyling and, hair cutting and barbering and everything, it's all about having the ability to be able to match someone up with the right shape and the right cut just for them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors come into, yourself, you're
Definitely.
you're a great barber as well. And the ability to be able to choose the right shape for someone, or to guide someone and to help them make the right choice for them as a professional, you should know, and to be able to communicate to them, and you build that confidence with your client. And I think that's what people come back for ultimately.
Yeah, definitely.
That trust.
Like for young hairdressers coming through, what would be kind of one main piece of advice? Because obviously now everything's so saturated by social media.
Yep.
It's quite deceptive as well. Anyone can make a photo look nice on social media. You can edit whatever.
Absolutely.
But to retain long-standing clientele like yourself, what's something you kind of, just a simple piece of advice for them to say that they can build on and work on to retain that clientele and build those relationships?
My biggest piece of advice for a young person coming into the industry, or anyone that's in the industry, is to keep learning. I've been at it a long time, and I'm still learning. Like we run workshops now for hairdressers. I love doing them because I probably would come away from those learning as much as what I've shared.
Yep.
Getting the opportunity to work with other hairstylists, and also as a hairstylist that's been doing it for 35 years, like, to also be able to admit that I can learn a lot from new up and coming hairdressers as well. Yep. I don't care if you've been doing it for 2 years, you might have something you can show me that you do better. And you have to always be eager and always be open to learning and watching what's new or what's different.
Yeah.
Because I think the minute you stop doing that, then you stop growing.
Yeah.
So my biggest challenge now at this stage of my career is to be able to keep current, and to be able to, like, I get my inspiration from a lot of different places. I even love walking around the city or just out in public and looking at how just everyday youth wear their hair or what they're doing with it.
Yep.
And you get a lot from you get to see what direction it's going in. And sure, like, then we can take inspiration from that and refine it a little more or build on it. But my biggest advice would be just to keep being hungry and eager to learn.
Definitely.
All the time.
Yeah.
And never be content. And I think anyone with an artistic background will be the biggest critic of their own work.
Definitely.
So I think it's that, and just enjoy what you do. There's not a day that I ever regret waking up to come to work. Never.
That's good. Yeah. No, it's exactly spot on what you say. It's really weird when, someone who's been working for, 6 months, a year, does something, and you just go, that just makes sense. I've never looked at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could do it for 30 years, like you say, and you just go, why didn't I just even think of trying that?
You're a winner if you pick up on that. Like, all these little things are tools, and the more tools you have, they're tools and ingredients. So the more tools and ingredients you've got, the more versatility you have to be able to recreate or put looks together. So they're all things that's another trick in your bag. It
seems to be a real kind of change in what's happening in the world at the moment as well, with everything becoming so online, systems, computers taking jobs. It seems to be like that older kind of generation is in that struggle now of they've probably studied harder, learnt more, got all this skill set that they're struggling to transition over into modern jobs and things like that. So to stay current with what you're doing is obviously really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big challenge. Like, social media and stuff, like we get, so everything looks so easy on social media.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
even like when you see before and after pics of hair transformations or colours and things like that, and we've done them ourselves, and it's like, geez, on there it looks like they walk in like this and they walk out like that.
No one sees the process.
No one sees the process, and that can be really quite lengthy and intricate. So, there's a lot of things. Hair has definitely got limits. So, we're also working with a natural thing that will actually make us stop sometimes.
Yeah.
It and hence, like you saying, someone coming in with a picture and going, "I want this," and it all depends on whether your hair will let us get it there.
Yeah.
So social media's changed a lot of that because things look so fast, quick, easy, and instant that you'd be mistaken for. You can be quite put off by failing, but you just got to keep doing it until you get better and better and better at it.
Listen, your family is unique to.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be the word you'd use to describe it?
Yeah, unique's a good word.
Yeah, I would probably say, like, my family's crazy. I would say they're crazy, and I love that. Crazy is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're the first person I've ever met that's been, how do you describe it? Like, you were once shorter than your brother, now you're taller than your brother, but at a fully grown adult age. Is that?
Yeah,
Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, I'll celebrate the fact that my brother growing up, my brother always towered over me.
Well, he's a unit. He's a big man.
He's a big bloke.
Yeah.
So we went through, and then I kind of caught up to him quite late in life. But I wouldn't say caught up to him. I was always that inch smaller than him.
Yeah.
Never quite got there, but my
Rob's
brother,
older?
Rob's older. He's 2 years older
So
than me.
big brother, always looking up.
Is my big
staring
brother.
Up. Yeah.
But I suddenly had the fortune, his misfortune and maybe my fortune from a height perspective but he had a disc removed out of his neck. So after that, I kind of overtook him. I ended up being like a half-inch taller than him.
He officially lost
an inch.
He lost an inch.
Yeah.
At what age?
Probably when he was about 45. So I was like, "Hey, Rob, hang on a minute. Like, I think I'm taller than you." And he's like, "No, you're not." Like, we stood together and I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
So for 45 years,
like that
your brother
bloody
was taller than you. You jump him.
Doesn't matter. We're still officially. So yeah, I have his little brothers ended up being taller than him.
There you go.
Which is great.
There's hope out there for everyone.
There is hope.
Yeah. Nonna Ada, your mother,
Yes.
she looks after us all. Always bringing in pasta and collecting the towels and doing all the dirty work.
She's contributing to everyone's cholesterol levels, I think.
Definitely. Is she being paid? Is she on the books?
Well, no, she's not on the books, but she gets paid in other ways.
Yeah,
I kind of I feel good about the fact that I'm giving her a reason to wake up every morning. And
that's nice.
she loves doing our washing. She just loves it.
100% she does. But I guess you nearly had to pay, what, 12 grand to fix her dog?
Yeah,
So-
probably, yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
well,
not
she
what
was-
the vet quoted you?
Well, it could have got there. Yeah. Luckily, it was a little bit less than that, but I couldn't do it. I had to, like, she loves her dog. My mum and dad both love their dog.
Your dad will 100% take that dog over
That dog
you.
has given me middle child syndrome. Yeah. So I've got a little bit of a love-hate relationship with him.
You hate it.
Well, I've moved down the food chain since that dog come along.
There's no love, hate, it's just hate. But yeah.
Well, yeah, we've got a strained relationship at the moment, but look, they adore him, so he's a very lucky dog for being in that house. But and also he's a bundle of nerves as well. But I suppose he would be if you had to live with Ada and John.
Oh, look, it would be. I'd love to be a fly on the wall of your childhood growing up in that house. It must have just been absolute mayhem.
It was absolute mayhem, but it was very fun. They were really good parents.
Yeah.
Like, we recently, I've recently had this discussion with my brother, where we kind of go, you know what, like, we were actually really lucky. Like, now we're parents ourselves, we can make that judgment a little bit more informed, and we look back on our days of our upbringing and, I think you can be critical of your parents when you're younger.
Definitely.
But we look back on it now and kind of go, oh, you know what, we were actually really, really lucky. They were really great parents. Mum and dad were always front row. They were always like our biggest, fans and cheering us on all the time. Mum worked really hard to make sure we got everything we needed.
What did your mum do?
She was a cook in a nursing home.
All right.
So she wasn't a chef. She was a cook.
Okay. Make that clear.
Yeah, we'll make that clear because a cook's very different.
Yeah.
Mum will say a cook cooks with love. A chef just does it for the money. But she's an amazing cook. But yeah, mum. So she was always in a kitchen. So, but I remember as a kid, like mum would pick us up from school. Everyone thought she was a nurse because she used to wear a white uniform. And amongst the Italian community, working in a nursing home and wearing a white uniform meant that basically you were qualified to diagnose people and prescribe medication. So mum was always doctoring everyone, but it was like, mum, you're a cook, like. But anyone that had any problems would always come to Ada, and she'd make her diagnosis.
Yeah, did she have a home remedy or something that she would always run?
Oh, look, there was a few things that I remember happening as a kid that I don't know if it's even all right to say, but she a few home remedies. Like she was always full of advice. She was, I'll give her that. She wouldn't hesitate to make the odd prescription or go down the chemist and ask for this, or go to your doctor and ask for this test or that test, and doctors would go, who is this woman, I
was surprised she gets much of a word in at home with Nonno John there. He seems to be who runs that household?
My mum.
Yeah?
I think my dad would like to think he does, but there's no way. Absolutely no way.
If you haven't met Nonno John, recently he's just become a model. That's his latest thing.
He has.
Is he reveling in that?
He is, he is reveling in that. So he featured in a StreetX photo shoot, which was actually hilarious. Like, he was very difficult to kind of pin down. He was overacting. He can't be controlled. And mum was there even trying to keep a bit of control on him.
You brought the full brigade to try and keep him down.
Well, she was thinking she was his manager, because when he was asked to do it, I rang home and I said, "Oh, mum, look, can you ask Dad, will he be in this photo shoot?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, tell him he can." And I said, "Well, are you gonna ask him if he wants to do it?" She goes, "Well, he'll do it because I'll tell him to do it." So that's it. So yes, So Dad rocks up there and basically did his thing, and I think they were pretty happy with it, because
if you're unsure of which one he is in the campaign, just
check out.
Just you'll know. You'll know which one he is.
It's John.
Yeah. He's Mr. Up Your Bum, was it?
Yeah.
But
No, he did a good job. So I said to him, "Come on, you can tick that off the bucket list. You've done some modelling now for a massive streetwear label like what StreetX is. So not many people can say they've done that. So no, he did a good job.
No, he did. He's as you say, the best thing for him to do is for him to just be himself.
I mean, look, I'd have a bad dreams thinking about the possibility that his face might end up on a t-shirt. Yeah. But hopefully not.
If he gets a t-shirt before you, that would be
that'd be tragic. I did have my moments when he was dressed in the StreetX gear that I kind of went, "Oh, holy shit, is that what I'm going to look like when I'm 79?" But hopefully not. I'm gonna do a lot more Pilates to make sure that I don't.
Yeah, a few more Pilates and less car accidents would be be ideal, because that Navarro's seen a few prangs. Was it your mum that faked her death or something at that time? Was it?
No, my mum. No, she didn't.
Sorry, not faked her death, but yeah.
No, she
telling me something about.
Well, we thought we'd test her loyalty by doing the whole. The police had pulled me over, and I told them you fell over.
Yes.
And she passed it with flying colours. She was actually quite. She put a lot of effort into she even broke a pair of glasses and flung herself on the floor in her nightie. And
so you rang her telling you that
I tested her out. I said, "The cops are following me to your house now to see if I'm lying. So can you just it up for me and make it look real?" And she was amazing.
What'd she do?
She just lied flat on her face on the floor. And we walked in and she was moaning, and she had her glasses flung on the other side of the room, and
she full made it look like she'd been beaten or something.
She'd collapsed on the floor, so she was groaning, and I went up to her and said, "Oh, Mum, you've passed." Yeah.
You would have got a little bit of a backhander for that one.
Yeah, there was a few 4-letter words coming out of her mouth, but
that's brilliant.
That's to be expected.
Love it. Yeah, after you, Dave, finished your apprenticeship, you moved just around the corner. You're onto the first version of Marchese, is that right?
Yes, I was originally around on the Hutton Street side. So basically, pretty much 100 metres from where I am now.
I think that's when I first met you.
Yeah. So we had just a unisex salon there. So yeah, we started off like quite a smaller space, but that's where we kind of built our identity. It was hard days in the early stages of that. Like, you know, we had our years of really trying hard to basically to find our identity.
Yep.
But also, yeah, business-wise, there was a lot of learning, and there was a lot to learn when we first opened. It was tough, but you know, we kind of got over that bit of determination, and or not just determination, but also like having the backup of, you know, mum and dad and their support and their encouragement. Like, it wouldn't have happened.
Because did you have any business background whatsoever before you took that on?
No, I didn't. It was more I had the opportunity to manage a salon.
Yep.
But you know, that was a great experience, like a great learning experience. So I got to do a little bit of the management side before, and that's what kind of made me decide. I think, you know, doing that, you know, in a lot of ways you also learn what you would and wouldn't do as a business person.
Yep.
If you were running your own. So that was a great learning experience. But before that, no, not really. Like, I wouldn't say that I did anything significant to learn how to be a businessman, but
just learn on the fly, really.
I did, yeah. I did. Like, I even kind of, I look back now and I think as a young person starting off his own business, I really didn't even really have much of a plan. And a lot of people say now, like in business mentoring, they'll talk about, you know, have a plan. And I actually agree with that now. Like, I think knowing where you want to end up is really important.
Yep.
And I did a little bit of some business mentoring along with my brother at one stage, and he had a couple of exercises there that taught me a lot, changed my way of thinking a little bit.
Because you've always been quite a act first, see the action, see the result later kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Well, that's how I see you. Is like,
yeah, I've always
whenever
jumped
I
in
ask a
feet
question,
first.
you're just like, I'm quite an overthinker, so I will think out something probably
Yep.
way more than it has to be.
Yes.
Whereas you would just do it and then deal with the outcome after it's already done.
Yeah, it's kind of that sort of sink or swim, like jump in, jump in, and I think, you know, with, you know, you're a young guy, and you know, but you'll see in time that you'll back yourself in a little bit more, you know, and you'll trust your instincts a little bit more, and also too, you start to fear failure a lot less.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you become friends with failure as well, because you realise that failing actually is a great learning experience, you know, and you will always sort of have little failures along the way, and to me, it's only beaten you if you keep making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, but you make a mistake and you learn from it, you don't do it again.
Yeah.
Then you've actually come out on top, and you know, you keep doing that, you're going to win in the end.
100%. Yep. So you evolved from there, moved down here after how many years were you on the corner?
I was at that on the corner there for about 11 years.
Wow.
So then we relocated to this. The opportunity came up to move into this space.
Sad to see that one go.
Yeah, I mean, it was sad in a way, but
some little benefits too.
Yeah, there was a lot of benefits too. Like, we moved into a space that had kind of better exposure. Like, I feel like our business has really grown since moving to this side of Main Street.
It seems like this little pocket here, with Sondre across the road,
Yeah.
you know, Montello's, Postamato next door, that little community that's been built has been.
You know what? We are in such an amazing little community here, like our businesses, and like you have your people like Sondre, like Nick over at Sondrea, and Dom at, you know, Montello's, and you know, you've got the guys next door, Postamato, you've got the optometrists here, Iconics. You know, and it was during the time, like COVID time, that we took a lot of inspiration, like, especially, I got to say, like, you know, Nick, who's funnily enough sponsored today's show, you know, we went through periods there where everything was shutting down around here, and we could only work to a certain, we had so many restrictions on what we could do. And, you know, I'd come in the mornings basically by myself, like, because we had restrictions on the amount of people that we could have in the room. So I was doing a lot of, like, just coming and doing what I could. We were running at a loss, but I thought a loss would be smaller if I could just do
Something's
a little
better
bit.
Than nothing.
And I'd get in the mornings, and there would be Nick across the road, and I'd think, you know what, he's there every day, just like me.
Yeah.
And he would be over there, like, doing whatever he could, like takeaway coffees or handing out. And, you know, the bloke, every time I'd get here in the morning, he'd race over and bring me a coffee. It was like a bit of an angel for a bit there. But I really took inspiration from people in the area that were working like that, because I've noticed now that the people who pushed during that really hard time and kept going, well, they're still here today.
Definitely.
They've built their, they're doing well. So I'm really glad, like, seeing other young people around me doing that and, soldiering on, even though, yes, it's likely they were running at a loss as well. It was really, really inspiring. So
yeah, there's a lot of good people in this area now, and even when everyone comes in for a haircut, you see them come across with a coffee, a roll from next door. It's all seems to be working in sync and in rotation, and it's good to see. Whenever we're over there, they're always awesome to all of us here, all
That's
the
right.
staff here, and vice versa them. We got Noah sweeping the floor some days, and
he
thinks he's working an 8-hour shift, but
that's
it's
right.
It's a 20-minute shift.
It's a great place, like little Noah's a little breath of fresh air that we get to see in the mornings. And I don't know, one day when he's going to be all grown up and he won't be there anymore, we'll probably miss him quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like there's lots of even our Lewis, our chemist, and we've got a great bunch of people around us here, and that makes coming to work every day really easy.
The only thing wrong with Lewis is he's a Richmond supporter, but we'll let that slide. He's a good man.
Well, you can't have it all. Like he's got brains.
Oh, definitely does.
He's a smart guy, but you know what they say about people with big brains, like they sometimes make some weird choices. So his football teams, what can we say? But no, he's a good guy, Lewis.
And just before we go, I just want to touch on, if you want to just tell us a little bit about your product line that obviously he's been running now for a long time. Cerico Hair Care.
Yep. So
definitely by far have the best curl cream probably that exists in the world. But tell us a little bit more about it.
Our original product, it's called Hairdresser, and that was our very first product that we made, and I kind of made that as a little bit of I just wanted something that I could use in my kids that was nice and natural.
Yeah, I remember you telling me Maddie's hair, you had nothing for it.
We had nothing for it, so I thought, I'll make my own, and that's how Cerico kind of started. But yeah, it's our little, it's something that we'd like to really sort of start moving forward on and pushing a little more and getting it out there a little bit more. Because Cerico is this great product that created by us, that we want to share with the world now. Like, God willing, we'll get it out there as soon as we can. But it was a bit of a more of a labour of love, a bit of a passion that we've developed this small range of products that we sell online now, and they're all manufactured in Australia. It's basically they're a fantastic mixture of organic actives and the very latest in scientific technology as well. So they're really good performing products that are made in Australia. I think it's definitely a watch this space kind of situation. We hope for it to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've definitely got our salon favourites in that lot.
Jump online, have a look at it. Cerico. Hair care, shampoos, conditioners, creams. It's all on there and it's growing, as you say.
All available online, so
definitely. Well, Dave, I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
You're a hard man to get a hold of. I know your time is valuable. So
that's all right.
To get an hour out of your day means a lot. And
thank you for having me.
I'm looking forward to hopefully getting you on here once more with your mum and your dad,
or mum and dad,
and do a Main Street episode separate.
Absolutely.
To the,
well, we were talking about it today, and we thought we'd really love to do a whole Main Street Barbers podcast. So with the whole
a round table.
Yep. Yeah. The whole crew, because that's a recipe for, I don't know, for disaster or for something amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. We've obviously just welcomed James to the team as well, and Wilson. Kind of got a full squad going now. So Main Street Barbers, Marchese Coffee, right next door to each other, 211 Main Street. Come on down, we'll look after you all. And thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you on the next episode with your mum and dad.
Yep, anytime.
Thanks.